Hey guys, Jola Pypno-Crapanzano here. Welcome to my coaching journey interview series. And today it's my greatest pleasure to introduce you to Louise Cartwright, my fellow CHPC coach, who I got to meet in our mastermind in the Rockies this past August/September. And we literally got the pleasure to meet at the table where we worked together on our businesses. And I feel that everything in life happens for a reason. And I felt that I met Louise for a reason too. So Louise, welcome.
Welcome. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to end the year like this.
Yes, I want to say that I actually kind of picked Louise to close this year of my series interviews, because I have to say to you guys, a person like Louise, who is, okay, let me just go a little recap about who Louise is. So Louise is not only certified high performance coach, she's also an NLP practitioner. She is, an expert on different areas of nutrition and fitness. She's a personal trainer. She is EFT expert. She is also, an unbelievably successful businesswoman. I will let her talk later on about how she became that, because for someone who started literally from nothing, from being a depressed mom of 2 children, and to run this unbelievably successful company that she does today, and she's helping other people to build their businesses, it's simply wow. And if I can tell you this, at the end of 2019, getting into 2020 and the new decade, and to bring all this unbelievable positive energy and that inspiration, there's no better gift that she can give us. So once again, welcome, Louise.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So I usually start these interviews with one question. What was the first time in your life that you knew you had it in you, that you wanted to help other people? Because obviously you didn't pop out of your mom's womb saying, hey, here I am, I'm going to help others, there I am. Something had to happen first, right? So What was that moment for you?
That's a really tough question, because I always laugh and joke and tell people that my journey into business was a complete accident. Just from the state that my husband and I were in a lot of debt, like, tens of thousands of pounds worth of debt. And the only way for us to start climbing out of that was for me to go and get another job. And I thought, well, if I didn't get another job, what would it look like if I did something else for myself? So basically, I just trained as a personal trainer, and I started doing fitness classes and earning extra money that way. But the reason that I chose the personal training and the nutrition was I'd had weight issues and self-worth issues most of my life. And so I thought, if I was going to help anybody anywhere, I'd really like to help women feel okay with who they are, and to love their bodies fitter rather than hating themselves thinner. And so that's probably the first time I really thought about how I could help somebody else feel better about themselves.
So yeah, it's actually very interesting that you just came from your own self-help, and then it's funny because that's actually a second element we have in common, because about 4 years ago I started with sort of like a fitness wellness coaching as well. I helped myself pretty much also to drop some unwanted weight, and then people are like, oh, how did you do that? And that's how I started my coaching. Obviously that evolved into so much more. I knew there's the mindset and all and whatnot. And actually, I forgot to mention with all that introduction of you that you are especially phenomenal in mindset coaching. Please tell me, how did you come across all that now that you went from personal training to, getting into the mindset coaching, NLP, and so on?
How did that happen? Again, serendipity plays a big part. If you was to ask my family, they'd all say that I've always been very headstrong and I've just kind of done stuff, but I didn't know that was actually a thing. And it was only kind of reaching the bottom and thinking I can stay here or I can get out. That was how somebody came to me. You said earlier on that, we all meet somebody for a reason. And I was literally on the floor, like I was broken. And I just reached out in a Facebook group one day, and this woman said to me, I will help you. I didn't have any money, so she said, I'm not going to charge you. Let's just hook up on a call. And we just started talking, and she was the first person that said to me, you know, those voices that you hear in your head, you know, they don't belong to you, right? And it was the first time that I'd ever had that conversation. Somebody knew that there was something going on in my head and it was kind of destroying me, but that I didn't have to hold on to that. And that was back in 2015. And then I read the Motivation Manifesto. Boom, instant game changer. And I just kind of got really sick of hearing these voices in my head. And it was like, okay, I can stay here or I can move. And I just started reading the books, and I just started looking at different things on YouTube. And then I just started doing this. Then I did my NLP coaching at the end of 2016. And to be quite honest, that was the moment when I just started going in a completely different direction. And I now started to have a formula where I could start to rearrange what was going on in my mind to create a different outcome. And I was helping other people to do the same. And it has just been something that the passion just keeps growing for the mindset, because everything comes from there.
Yeah. And, you know, I brought it up for a reason, because so many of people out there, you know, my audience, your audience, our clients, they feel that when they are stuck, there is no help. Sometimes they feel so stuck that they just like give up on themselves, right? And here you are as an example that even, or sometimes actually because of that, when you hit that rock bottom, when you against the wall so much that it hurts because you cannot breathe no more, like you're so deep under the water, that's when, you know, that's when actually magic can happen. And that's when you can there's no more going down, there's only going up, right? And so that was my next question actually to you. When did you really knew that this was it for you? You were so rock bottom that you had to do something. And what was that little light that you seen up there?
I think there's been a few of those, and you know, you may have seen recently on my social media, I shared, you know, instead of us beating up on ourselves about what we've done in the past or who we've been in the past, the mistakes we've made, actually we need to look back at those versions of ourselves and say thank you, because she or he brought us to where we are today in for most of us in a very different space. So there had been so many rock bottoms you know, and I'd never given myself an opportunity to kind of really see them as that. But in terms of how I went from kind of that you know, being that depressed single parent, the first rock bottom was I've got to leave my marriage. So that was a game changer for me, leaving the marriage and going off to be with the children on my own. And then there was a big heartbreak for me, so I kind of gotten over that. But it was when I started up in business. You have to excuse 1 minute, my dog's trying to get in, and she's crying at me. There was so in my first business, it was the first time I'd realised actually that there was this whole thing called money mindset, and that we have this kind of mindset around money that either limits us or expands us into something bigger. And I had a very, very limiting money mindset. So I worked my way through that. But in the meantime, I'd hit rock bottom because everything was so fear-based in my business. Like, were my clients going to leave me? Was I giving them enough? Were they talking about me? Should I deliver more? Should I charge less? And it was this constant conversation over and over again. And I just got to the stage where I thought, I'm not happy. I'm drinking too much. I'm not spending time with my children. I'm miserable with my husband. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to close the business down. That was the bottom. I'm closing the business down. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll work it out after I've made that decision. Just because I realised that I'd gone through life thinking that the next thing would be the thing that made me happy. So when I got a thinner body, I'd be happy. That didn't happen. When I had the soulmate, I'd be happy. That didn't happen. When I had the money, I'd be happy. That didn't happen. So I'm thinking, maybe I should look inside first. And that's when I really, really realised that what I was holding in here was a direct reflection of what I was creating outside of myself.
Yeah, I want you to guys pay very good attention to what she just said, because this is a key of every change. You need to really realize and just start from your head, yeah? Mm-hmm. So that's the past, right? We talked a little bit about your past, and I really want to focus right now on today and what you do today, because this is what really is super inspiring. So now you're this businesswoman who helps other women, and not only women, but generally help other business owners to do what they love and make more money while they're doing it, right? So please tell me, how do you actually, help others and help others actually succeed in their business using all your techniques as a coach, money mindset coach, NLP coach, certified high performance coach, that holistic approach to coaching, yeah?
Yeah. Well, I think the first thing that I realized in that whole journey was that I found myself continually buying the next thing. So I'd buy the next shiny course that said, do these things and you'll make all this money, or do this thing and you'll have a raging, community, or da. And it was, and then I started to be aware, as you know, with NLP, you've got these mirror neurons, right? So you start to see what you're seeking. So I saw all these other people doing the same thing. They were buying, but the conversation they were having was they weren't making any progress. And I realized, if I look back at my story, the one strategy that nobody buys is themselves. Nobody wants to put the pieces of the puzzle together internally that then sets them up for that. Any strategy that comes along, they can do it. So the first part of any work that I do with any client is finding out what are the stories they have going on in their head, because the stories are literally like your predictions for your future, the expectations that they have. I want to find out what they might say they want something, but their subconscious expectations might be remodeling like their generational achievements. So if they have got generations of achievements which were very limited, they're just playing that same stuff out. So we do that whole deep dive into what are your stories, what are your expectations, what do you really want, what does your soul sort of talk to you about. We talked a little bit about energy before we came on, and I truly believe we're in this magical age now where we're being called back to kind of live from the inside out. So it's not just about having a business to make money, it's having a business that you can live your life of purpose, passion and profit. So we dive into that mindset stuff first and kind of help them to remove the beliefs that are not working, rewrite the ones that they need to have so they can become that person that they need to be. Then I integrate high performance coaching and masterminding and all the other kind of things like my angel cards and my oracle cards, and just I get a lot of guidance from spirit or higher source, whatever you want to call them. So I get a lot, and I bring it all in together. And one of the things that my Bluetooth is talking to me. That's strange. One of the things that I feel I have a gift for doing is I see somebody's potential quite clearly. So I will know if something's right or wrong, and I can kind of mold them and guide them a little bit. So there's not, you can't say it happens in a specific way, but it's bringing all of those things together so that they can literally unleash their personal power. Yeah, because you can put somebody in that space, they can do anything.
Yeah, I actually, we talked about, like you said before, it's how interesting our paths are different, but in a way similar, because we both got attracted to that idea that in helping our clients, we can use so many different approaches. Strategy is amazing, but if you don't use that soulful, energetic approach to that deeper insight, it has to feel good. It's not just that logical, do this, you're going to succeed. Because if it's not aligned with you, you're dead in the water. And so I started with the CHPC, and I got myself more into this neuroscience and positive psychology and all that energetic healing stuff and feng shui and what to do. And you went the opposite way, and you finish with the high performance coaching. And yet that doesn't matter really how we get to the point where we are. It's most important that we have it in our soul to help others, that we have that bigger mission, right? And you are such a perfect example of it. So I would love you to share a little bit. I actually wanted to ask something you mentioned, because you also talked about these cards, and that's something that fascinated me. And I want to share this with other people, because you included with your little trainings. I had a chance to watch you once or twice when you actually pulled some cards, and it was a fascinating thing. Tell me, how do you actually use it? What's the reason behind it? Because that's something I don't do, and that fascinates me.
Okay, so I bought my first deck probably about, what year? I even forgot what year we're in. Say about 15, 16 years ago, right? So I was going through a difficult time, and a friend guided me into, there's a lady called Diana Cooper. She'd written a lot of book on angels, and I started to read those, and I started to get into meditation. And I have to say that there's a period of 6 or 7 months where I was completely focused on my own internal healing, and it was absolutely incredible. So I got my first deck of angel cards, and I would use them as guidance. So I would do a meditation, and just literally my question was always, what is it that you want me to know? Like what's my highest good? And I draw, say, 2 or 3 cards. And I've now got about 20 decks, I guess. And I just, and generally what I tend to do in the morning, my ritual is that I will get up, I get my journal out. I have something called the Cosmic Tip-Off that I read. I do some journaling or higher self-writing, and I'll always pull a card or 2 for confirmation of what I've written or what I've been channeled or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And then, and again, it's that whole thing of giving yourself permission, like you said before. We have these tools in our toolbox, and we have a framework, but how we deliver those is going to be person to person or moment to moment as things just develop. So I found myself hiding this side of myself away. But knowing, like you said, that something inside of me, my soul was like, there's something missing here. Logic is one thing, but I'm much better in the feeling space. So I was like, okay, I'm going to just start using my cards as guidance. So at the end of every call, whether it's a one-to-one client or my mastermind calls or whatever, I will pull at least 3 cards, because generally speaking, they will always confirm what we have been talking about as a collective.
All right, listen, this wasn't planned, but do you have one handy right now?
I do. Let me...
let's do this. How amazing. I never even thought about that. That is great. Like, I love spontaneous things that pop into these calls. Let's do something.
This is a deck that I bought a couple of years ago.
Uh-huh.
And again, I got these because I was doing, it was the winter solstice. It was the 21st of December, 2 years ago, and I went to a cacao ceremony, so and a solstice meditation, and the lady that ran it had these cards outside, and I was really looking for, like, come on universe, give me some clue that I'm on the right path, like it's, I need something. And I pulled the card out, which is called New Vision. And it's this beautiful figure kind of like raising up through the earth, leaving its shadow behind, and all the new geometric symbols coming in, talking about how you're ascending into a new energy space. And I thought, okay, that's my card. I'm gonna do that. So let's just pull one for now. We can always pull one at the end if we want to, and just see. And generally, like I say, you can use them for extra guidance. You can use them if you're a bit stuck on a question. But I love to use them as confirmation, because I think it just gives my clients and my groups just that more of a proof that, you're in a space where you're being part, or you are part of something so much bigger than just your little reality. So this is the card that came out, Moment to Moment. And this is a lovely, lovely card. So this one very much talks about how you said earlier on, sometimes we get so stuck in where we're at, we think there's not a way out. This moment to moment card reminds us that we're all part of this creative process, and that we need to be sort of moving lightly from one space to the other, like that positive expectation, like not bringing stuff with us, just trusting in that process. As if you're going from one side of a stream to another, you go across the stepping stones, and it's that whole movement of light. Whereas I think, and it's a really nice message actually for bringing in a new decade, we have to stop logically forcing this road ahead, because the logic is not where the creative happens.
Yep. It's absolutely.
Right, you know about this, the neuroscience, the creative energy, it's waves, and we have to access that by being in that energetic frequency.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. That was like an extra bonus. I wasn't. It's fascinating for me, and I realized that if you can look for that inspiration from all unusual sources, like Tony Robbins says, where focus goes, energy flows.
Mm-hmm.
When you focus on something, the synchronicities that start happening in your life just are unbelievable, right? Like, I started learning all these new things, and all of a sudden people popping in my life from left and right that I never imagined I will ever meet. Okay, so moving on to the future now, right? We're moving into 2020, and here is Louise creating this unbelievable future for for her clients. Please tell me, if you were to give people 3 tips, just give me 3 tips for the most successful 2020. I know you ran this video series on tips for success in 2020. So if you could pick the 3 favorite ones, which ones they would be?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I think the first one that's just coming into my head is like, shoot the arrow further than your front door. So what I mean by that is lots of people are trying, in inverted commas, to create a different reality for themselves, but in actual fact what they're doing is they're just saying, if I could just have a bit more money, or if I could just have a bit more love, or if I could just have a bit less weight, or if I, you know, so they're aiming the arrow, and it's kind of literally still within the 4 walls of their reality. I want to encourage people to shoot the arrow so far out of their comfort zone, but be very clear on you know, the direction it is going in. Not just, I want a bit more of this, or I want a little bit less of that. I'm not saying you have to have the whole pathway set out, but if in your heart and soul you would love to be, I don't know, like traveling around the world on a cruise ship as an example, right? Aim the arrow there. I think a lot of us spend so much time with our bow, and we're like this. We don't know what to pick. We don't think we can pick it because we don't think it's possible for people like us, because we're too poor, or our family never had it, or any kind of those stories that we tell. So aim your arrow, aim it well, and aim it so far out of your front door that it scares you, because otherwise you're going to get to the end of your days and you're going to have what you've always had.
Yeah.
And you'll really wish you did something different.
Yeah, your dreams have to be so scary that you're sometimes afraid to share them with people, right?
Absolutely.
And you have to have a crystal clarity what you really want. We talk about it all the time. So that's number 1. Number 2.
Yeah. So number 2 would be it sort of feeds into that. But if you want more from your life, you must demand more from yourself. So you cannot, and I'll give you an example. So I'm in a group of a Facebook group where people are on a 90-day nutrition plan, and they can keep rolling it over, so they can keep doing 90 days. And there have been some incredible results in there. Now, when people post up and they've got their before and afters, and people are congratulating them, you'll always get somebody or several people saying, how closely to the plan did you stick? In other words, what they're saying is, I want those results, but I want to drink and eat whatever I want and still get them.
Immediately looking for a way out of that path.
Exactly, right? They want the result, they don't want to do the work. And I'm here to say that in 2020, you 100% need to stand up and demand more from yourself. Now, that might look like getting up early. Yes, it might mean taking a green juice. It might mean cutting back on your alcohol. It might be, you know, being nicer in the way that you communicate with your husband or your wife. It might be demanding that you say in 3 months' time, I'm quitting this job that I hate, and I'll set myself up in business and I'll work it out as I go. But demand more from yourself, and that's the only way you can make it work.
You couldn't say it. I couldn't say it better myself. You know, this is the thing, you know, the high performance that we coach our clients on is this holistic approach. It's not just succeed in business and wreck your health, wreck your relationships. Go for it, simultaneously expanding and growing, and whatever the area do you want to really succeed, that's where you focus on, right? Absolutely. Fantastic. Number 3
would definitely be to realize that you're limitless in potential and possibility just by nature of how you're created. And so spend more time being in the fluidity of the I don't even know what to call it. I don't know what you call it, but kind of like the creative matrix, or the energy. Like, be more in that than you are up here. Because, you know, Greg Braden puts it perfectly when he talks about the brain-heart coherence. Like, we have got this little pocket of almost magical cells in our heart center that are like, that's like our manifesting magic. But we can't access that just by thinking, I would like to have X, Y, and Z. We have to feel our way into that space. So get more out of your head and drop more into your heart. Somebody said to me when we was actually at CHPC in November, somebody said the longest journey you'll ever take is the one between your heart and your head.
Yeah. Oh, that's phenomenal.
And I just never seen it like that before. And no matter how alien that concept is for you right now, whether you believe in a God or a creator or an energy, science tells us that it's a creative wave that we are part of, and how we direct this and how we connect with that, like you said, you will start to see things swimming into your life, and you'll go, what the hell's happening? Where are these people coming from? And it's not easy. It's a practice, just like working out, eating better. It's the best thing you'll ever do.
Yeah, you know, oh my God, you're like talking to me right now. And this is what I believe. It's phenomenal about the community we're in, and surrounding ourselves with these like-minded individuals who want the same great things in life. And I feel that it's a blessing to, you know, meeting you and other people like yourself. And because like, even now, like, check this out, people, this never ends, right? She says things and I feel like, holy crap, even I at this moment, I'm like, yeah, but you said the longest journey from the head to the heart, when we know we have to drop from the head to the heart. This was the hardest piece for me, and I truly believe that even for me, you know, I still have way to go, because we always grow, right? That journey never ends. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for that amazing lesson, Louise. That's beautiful. Love it, love it, love it. And you know, I promised you we're not gonna talk much longer, because it's after all, it's a holiday season still, anywhere between the Christmas and New Year's, and people are not, you know, really into the computers to watch forever. So I will just end with this. I would love you to share with people your social media links and social media, you know, website and so on, and website address, so they can reach you if they're interested. By the way, you just launched your amazing website that is packed with freebies, so people can learn so many different things, how to access, you know, their greatness through the body, mind, and soul. And that's phenomenal. But before I go, I want to ask one more last question. So, Louise, tell people, why the hell should they really have a coach in their life?
Oh my God, why? Oh, literally. Okay, so I had never had a coach, and I'm self-taught. Everything I've done, I've learned myself. I'm very stubborn. I do it and I do it. However, CHPC last year changed my life. Changed my life. It do you know what it was? It was the complete opportunity to reflect on this truth that, you know, who you are is creating what you have. And if you want something different from your life, it's only going to come from inside. And when you up level, and it's changed my marriage, it's helped me heal a relationship with my daughter, it's transformed my business, it makes me think about the way I show up every day. Coaching, it will just change everything for you, because it gives you an opportunity to be guided into a space of self-reflection, at the same time some self-acceptance, right? This is not about people beating up on themselves, but it's an opportunity to say, can you see how where you're at has been caused by what you've been thinking and what you've been doing? How can we change that together? And let me support you to become the highest version of yourself. It's a game changer for anybody who wants more out of life. CHPC coaching is 100% for me the way to go.
Wonderful. What a beautiful way to finish 2019.
I know.
People something to really think about for 2020. You know what? There is unlimited possibilities in life. We just need to really tap into them. And, you know, coach is that one guy, the girl, guy, whoever on the sidelines that sees something you don't see. You know, it's just that thing that you cannot see the label when you sit inside the jar or something like that. Amazing, right? Wonderful. Louise, so what's your handles on social media, and what's your website?
Okay, so everything you can find me right now is Your Rich Life. So my website is www.yourrichlifeco.uk. That's my brand new one. And that's really just, it's resources for, you know, soul-led, soulfully ambitious entrepreneurs, business owners who want everything. Like, you know, they don't just want the cash and the business. They want, you know, amazing, passionate relationships. They want to feel good. They want to feel connected, conscious. They want all of it. So Facebook group is the same, Your Rich Life. You'll find me on Facebook on my page, Your Rich Life. Same with Instagram. You can find my podcast at the Lifepreneur Podcast. And I do have another website that's being built right now, or rebuilt right now, but I can let you know when that's live.
That's wonderful. Thank you very, very much for your time. I appreciate all your knowledge, all your insights, all the heart, Well, the reading of your cards and everything else, tips for 2020. Louise, have a very, very happy new year.
And you, my darling. Thank you so much.
Thank you.